What is happening, guys? Welcome to the David F Haas Podcast. I'm your host, David F Haas. Thanks for taking the time to tune in and listen today. I think this podcast is going to be really informative. This is a question we all want an answer to. So how do you get rich? And this is kind of a little bit out of the norm of what I normally do, because a lot of what I've worked on myself is how to transcend the needing to get rich. And when you learn to transcend wanting to get rich, that's when riches flow into your life. That's what I personally experienced. But there are still real practical things you can do to get to another level of success in your life. And the great thing about getting rich is that you don't have to be this highly advanced conscious person to do so. It's just with the level of desire at 125, you can move to all sorts of levels of success. And this is why you see a lot of super rich people get to where they want to go and they're still unhappy and they're still miserable. It's because they haven't been able to get past desire. And it's only when we really start really moving up the scale of consciousness that we begin to feel these advanced states of consciousness, these states of abundance and joy and peace and love and compassion. And then when we truly feel fulfilled, like we're loved, we love ourselves. So this is the state that I really, truly help people get. A lot of my clients are people that are already successful with regards to money, but are lacking happiness. And we help them uncover that. But today, I've been watching the show Undercover Billionaire. I love it. And it just made me think about these 10 tips that I came up with. These are the tips that guided me to the level of success that I'm at. I'm by no means I would say that I'm rich, but I'm in the top 1% of the world as far as income goes. And so I think it's a good place to be, just to be completely transparent, I guess. Screw it. I don't know why people aren't talking about money. It's because I'm in a good place. I make about $350,000 a year. I'm worth probably a little over $1 million. I have 3-4 successful businesses that are running right now, and they're all shut off because of COVID. So once they turn back on, I'm probably going to be in $500-600K range a year, which is like really great money. Yeah, it's great, but my life doesn't change that much. Yeah, I got a boat and I got a pool, and we go on nice vacations, but it's not really that much different. And there's some sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs or something along those lines where anything over 60K doesn't really change your life that much. And I can attest to that. It's like nothing really changes once your basic needs are met. Yeah, you got a little nicer things. You go to a little nicer restaurants, you stay in nicer hotels, but it doesn't change that much. So just with that awareness, you can let go of wanting to be rich a little bit, which is one of the tips on my list here. So anyways, just to be transparent, the reason I want to be transparent is because I want people to know what's possible. I don't feel like I work hard. I don't feel like I grind or hustle. I'm happy. I love my life. I'm excited to see what's to come. Excited to wake up every day and keep moving forward, keep growing spiritually. And I'm making a bunch of money. And it's great. So let's talk about it. Tip one is getting rich. It's a funny topic, but getting rich is a marathon, not a sprint. And this is, did I screw this one up really bad? I was so obsessed with trying to get things now for probably the first 30 years of my life, that it prevented me from playing the long game. And because of that, I just missed out on so much opportunity. My best friend, on the other hand, is this guy that he's got like crazy patience. I don't even know where he gets it from, but he just slowly kept this slow, steady pace of just steadily increasing, worked a great job, slowly moved up the corporate ladder, went back to school, bought rental properties slowly. And now he's my age, he's 42, and he owns 5 houses. He makes great money and he's killing it. Literally just killing life. Especially with the way real estate went, he's holding on to $2 million in real estate, So he's rich. And he did it slow, and it was painless, and it was easy. And it was just so I was always I want to sprint, but what we want, instead of your cadence, and if you don't know what cadence is, and running is how many steps you take in a minute or whatever it is. And so my cadence was always sprint, but his cadence was pop, 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 pop. And it's just slowly every day, just moving slowly forward. And that's how he became successful. So essentially play the long game is what we're looking at. So what can you do? What do you want to do in 10 years? All right. Not what do you want to get done tomorrow and you need to have it right now. If you can get out of this impatience mode and start looking at the long picture, it's really easy to do. You just write it out. Where do you want to be in 10 years? And then break that down into small daily goals, which is another tip on here that I'll go into. The second is, this is huge, and this is a spiritual growth tactic, is identify how you're going to feel when you become rich. So a big realization that I made was that it wasn't the money that I was after. It was about how the money was going to make me feel. And for me, the way money was going to make me feel was accepted, good enough, accomplished, and happy. And so when I realized that that's the way I thought money was going to make me feel, I then asked myself the question, which is tip 3, is why am I currently not feeling that way right now? All of these states, advanced states of consciousness, are already available to us. We don't need to place anything on a destination. For me, it was getting rich. So if you're sacrificing your happiness, your love, your self-love, feeling accepted, because you're waiting to get there when you make the money, you're missing the whole entire concept. Okay. What you want to do is understand why you're not feeling that way now. So a big part of why I didn't feel happy now was because of a lot of the shame I was holding on to as a kid, right? The shame of not having the nicest clothes, not living in the nicest house, not driving the nicest cars. And while I wasn't poor as a kid, but my dad just was this person that didn't really take care of his stuff. And I was insanely embarrassed about that. That shame, that one emotion of shame, drove my whole entire becoming of an entrepreneur. And I don't regret it, because I like business. It's fun. It gives me a nice life of freedom, and it's a game, and I think it's great. But I now have that opinion. Before, it was head down, grinding so that I can avoid feeling the shame. Once I started dealing with the shame, before I even made the money, I started dealing with the shame. I didn't even realize what I was doing. I started becoming who I wanted to become by becoming rich, but I hadn't become rich yet. If I didn't lose you on there. I just started feeling the way I wanted to feel. And guess what? Once I felt the way I wanted to feel, despite not having the money yet, by letting go of all of these negative emotions, then this is when the money began to flow into my life. And this is what's available to you. This is the power of manifesting. Manifesting isn't about thinking about what it is that you want. A Lamborghini. Yeah, you can visualize yourself driving down the street in a Lamborghini with your arm out the window and people pointing at you saying, "Oh yeah, look at him, he's driving a Lamborghini." It's about how you're feeling when you're driving that Lamborghini, right? And if you can begin feeling that way right now before being in the Lamborghini, then the Lamborghini is going to come into your life. That is what manifesting is all about. So we need to identify how we want to feel by becoming rich, and we need to identify why we're not feeling that way right now and start getting to the root of it. Great book to read on to get to the root of it is Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. Another great thing you could do is call me up and sign up for my group coaching, and we'll get you feeling that way before you even make the goal. And once you feel that way, the goal is inevitable. It's almost automatic. It's like your mind is like a magnet. What you hold in mind tends to manifest. So if you hold in mind that you're happy and your money's abundant and the world is your oyster, then that's exactly what's going to get attracted into your life. If you're holding in your life that you never have enough, you're never going to get ahead, the game is rigged, then guess what? That's what you're going to continue to attract into your life. So you need to flip that mindset. I would pretty much put all of my time and energy in those two questions right there. In those points 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, I should say, because that's really the be all end all. If you figure that out, you've got it figured out. But here's some more. Watch the show Undercover Billionaire. And the reason that I love this show is I just literally got turned on to it is because it takes these billionaires and they strip away all their money, like, symbolically, and they go into a town that they don't know anybody. They're given a cell phone, $100, and an old pickup truck, and they got 90 days to create $1 million business, or a business that's valued at $1 million. And when you see these people that are flying in private jets and living in mansions, and they go back to where they began, you realize that it's not that difficult what they did. Yeah, they worked hard and they did all the things, but they did really simple things. Like one of the guys was finding junk on the side of the road and selling it for more money. Like it doesn't have to be this big picture. And I think that's where a lot of us, and I know, I shouldn't even say us, I say, I'm just going to speak from experience. That's where I got trapped forever, was trying to think way too big. Right? I even did it in my coaching business. I was like, how can I get to the masses? And I forgot to just try and do what I did in the beginning when I started my first company. I went and knocked on doors, right? So don't underestimate the power of kind of like guerrilla marketing, which is essentially just, knocking on doors, going to the people you already know, handing out flyers, these kinds of things. This is where you begin. Then you grow, then you expand. But don't think too big. I don't want to say don't think too big. You can think big, but start small. Does that make sense? Yeah, I just made that up. So yeah, watch the show Undercover Billionaire. It's amazing. I don't know where you can watch it, but it's available out there somewhere on the web. Great show. Great. Gives you a great understanding of what it really takes to become successful. And it's not as complicated as you think it is. That's basically what the point I want to get across here. 5 is read the book, Think and Grow Rich. If you don't know what this book is, then I'm basically going to suggest that you're probably not that into becoming successful, because it is the be-all, end-all. It is Napoleon Hill is the author. He's the godfather of personal development, essentially. And what he did for 20 years was he followed around the most successful people in America. People like Andrew Carnegie and, these types of people that were huge influencers. And he developed these 12 principles that you need to follow, or not 12, 17 principles that you need to follow to become successful. And the first principle is define your purpose, which essentially is, what is it that you want to do? Like, what is it you're meant to do on this earth? And it's not make money. It's got to be something greater than that. It's got to be something bigger. Like, what brings you joy? If you can connect to that, then you're going to be in a really good spot. I think some of the most successful people are people that really connected to what it is they were supposed to do really early on in life. Think of a guy like Kobe Bryant, even though I know he played other sports, but he was like, I want to play basketball. This is what I'm going to do. Like, I know I'm going to the NBA. This is what I'm going to do. And that's all he did. Okay. So if you can, the earlier you connect to your purpose, the better. But if you don't know what your purpose is, you have no clue, then the next thing you got to do is you got to go out and do shit. Right. Gary Vee calls this go out and taste, like just go and work in a paint store and don't worry about, just take your best guess at what you think you would like doing most and go get a job doing that, or go start a business doing that. The more you taste, the more you're going to define what it is you really want to do. And then one day you're going to be like, oh shit, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And that's where I feel I'm at with coaching. It's like, this is what I'm going to be doing forever in one way, shape, or form. You know how amazing that feels? It's like, I'm no longer getting pulled in every direction. Like, oh, here's a money-making idea. Here's a money-making idea. No, it's like, this is all I'm doing. And yeah, it changes. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do this. But it's all under this umbrella of giving back and helping people through my coaching. So read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's like, this is like a Bible of anyone that wants to get rich. Okay. Plus there's also some other really great stuff in there that are spiritual principles, I would say, as well. Number 6 is go the extra mile. This is probably the most basic concept, and I think it's actually another principle in Think and Grow Rich. If you learn to go the extra mile for everybody in your life, you're going to be successful. It's literally that simple. And go the extra mile without the expectation of getting anything in return. If you start going the extra mile thinking, oh, maybe this is going to, it just doesn't work. If you just truly go the extra mile because you want to help people, you're going to be rewarded. You're going to get payoffs. And actually, this is another thing that you'll see in Undercover Billionaire. It's like these guys just go the extra mile for people. And because they do that, they get rewarded. Huge. It is in giving that we receive. Everything that you give, you get back 10 times over. And this has just been proven to me over and over and over again. When I catch myself holding on to my money too tight, I just get back into giving as much as I possibly can. And that's when I start flowing again. Okay. So if you go the extra mile for people, if you don't currently have a business, go the extra mile for your current employer. Someone's going to notice you. Someone's going to be like, who is this kid or this person that's killing it? I want them on my team, right? If you have a business, go the extra mile for your customers. Just be kind, courteous. I walked into, I'll shut them out, Homescapes here in Windsor the other day. I was like, they were like, this is so nice. Like they just were like, just so helpful. And I was like, wow, this is so great. What a great business these guys are running over here. And they're successful as hell. And I'll refer them to anybody. I don't even know exactly what they do there fully. I know it's landscaping materials, but they're just so nice and like so helpful. And the girl that helped me, Carly, there, she killed it. So it's like, if you go the extra mile for people, people will go out of their way to refer other people to you, because secretly everyone wants to give someone like a really good referral. Okay, so go the extra mile is huge. Tip 7 is give, which we kind of already went over, but everyone in business is focused on getting. What can I get? How can I get more customers? How can I get more money? And we all have it backwards. I had it backwards for the better part of my life. I was focused on getting. And then one day it just came to me that, well, it didn't just come to me. It came to me probably 1,000 times before I finally decided to put it into action, which was, we have it backwards. We're focused on getting, so then one day we eventually can give. But if you reverse that and you start giving, and then you give, so one day eventually you will get. And I don't even like that as I say it out loud. It's like, just give without the expectation of getting anything in return. Just give because you want to help people. That is when you're going to receive more than you could ever have even dreamed of. And when I implemented giving at my restaurant, Treehouse downtown Windsor here, I literally quadrupled my sales over the course of like 3 or 4 years. When I focused on how can I get from my customers to what can I give my customers. And I also did it with my employees. What can my employees give me to what can I give to my employees? And that one I'm still actually working on a little bit, but it's like I still know that I'm going to get 10x back when you focus on giving. So I know it seems like a very common, simple principle, but you want to reverse engineer that. Stop looking at what you can get. Start thinking about what you can give. Okay. 8, save money. I know this seems simple, but something changes in you with respect to money when you begin saving it. Okay. So I'm not saying you have to save a ton, but I happen to be a person who saves a lot of money. I never was that person. I was a spender, and there's still a spender in me that wants to spend, but luckily my wife is the opposite. So we balance each other out nicely. But when you start putting money away into an investment account, and I just throw all my money into index funds, it's really simple. My investment strategy is simple. I invest every month into an index fund. I'm constantly buying. And then when the stock market dips, I buy more. There is no pulling my money out. None of that. It's just investing. And every now and then when something comes around that I think might make a bunch of money, I'll throw some in there. I might sell a little bit of my index fund to buy Tesla if I really think it's going to go through the roof, which I did. And I sold it. I made 30%. I thought I was killing it. And then it went up 700%. So that's why I got out of the investing game, because it was just too emotional. Even when you win, you feel like you lose sometimes. So I just usually play with index funds, but I will jump in here and there and onto some of these ideas that I keep hearing over and over again and do a little research. But mainly index funds is really all I do. And then something happens when you have money in the bank. You start, I don't know, you feel more at ease. Like I could literally, with the amount of money I have invested right now, I could stop working for 10 years because I know how to live on very little. So I could stop working for 10 years and I would still be okay. Like, whoa, geez. That feels really comfortable, feels really, really good. So something happens, a mindset shift happens. With that being said, though, you can't also save your way to getting rich. If you start really young, yes, you could start investing 50% of your income. You could get there. And you could get to $1 million by the time you're 50, which I think is a cool plan. If you're over 30, over 35, that option is kind of going out the window because you're going to have to save aggressively to get to where you want to go. So that means that you're going to have to create some sort of business. You're going to have to find a way to increase your income if you want to get rich. Okay. So this is only if you want to get rich. If you're content where you are, just keep saving and you're going to be great. But if you're listening to this podcast, you want to understand how to increase your income. You got to save, and then you got to create a way to increase your income. If you're over 35, you can save your way to riches. If you're young, if you're older, there's got to be a bunch of other things. And this is where things like hiring a coach come in. They'll get you to where you want to go a lot faster. It's like, why would you want to try and figure it out on your own when you can pay someone that's already been there? It's literally that simple. Or you can go talk to someone. You don't have to pay someone. You could just go talk to someone. Okay, so save. Just start saving. It doesn't matter what it is. People say 10% of your income. I am more like 50% of my income. My wife and I both save so aggressively that it forces us to live modestly. And so I see my friends all around me buying all these toys and snowmobiles and jet skis. And I'm like, how are they doing it? And I'm like, oh, they're not saving nearly as much money as I'm saving. I'm just saving so much money. And I just watch the interest. Like, the interest is insane. And I'm just doing nothing, So it feels good. Number 9, live your days the way you want to live your life. And this is one actually that I'm not great at. So I know that you could be insanely successful if you're able to do this, but I'm a roller coaster. I go through periods where I'm just killing it and I'm like hitting everything, and then I go through periods where I'm just missing. But at the core of this idea is success is insanely simple. It is actually so simple that we won't do it. How funny is that? And the reason being is that because we can dismiss the simple tasks. It's like, well, we can put it off till later. And there's also this impatience that comes in there as well. But literally, I just did this. I'm in the process of completing it. I just wrote a book by finally saying, I'm just going to write 5 minutes a day. And that 5 minutes turned into 10 minutes and turned into 15 minutes. And sometimes I just did 5. Sometimes I did 30. And guess what? In the course of 3 months, I wrote a short story that I'm going to publish and release. And I don't even know what's going to happen with this thing. I just did it as like a creative outlet. And it was just proof that if I stayed consistent and wrote for 5 minutes a day in 3 months, I would have a book complete. Now, goes for anything that you want to do. You want to get in better shape? Do 5 push-ups a day. If you want to or go for a 5-minute walk, and then that will expand what you're trying to do when you're installing these micro habits. And you could read the book Atomic Habits if you want to learn more about this. When you're installing these micro habits, you're trying to establish the habit of being consistent. And success is just a matter of doing small daily tasks consistently. It is literally that simple. But the fact that it's so simple, it makes it easy for us to dismiss. So what I've been having a lot of success with recently is habit stacking. So a client of mine, we're writing our book and we have to check in with each other. So I would say accountability and habits are huge. We have to check in with each other every time we write for 5 minutes. But now what we've done is, because we've been doing this for 3 months, the writing has pretty much become automatic. So now we've stacked on the writing. He's doing gratitude and I'm doing like 5 push-ups. And I know 5 push-ups is like, what's going to happen with 5 push-ups? But pretty much every time I go down to do 5 push-ups, I end up doing 10 or 20 or 15. And then sometimes I'll do it 4 times in a day. I don't know why. It just happens. So if you can start with these micro habits, you're going to be successful. So if you live your days the way you want to live your life, eventually it's pretty much inevitable that you're going to move in the direction that you want to go. You can watch or listen to my podcast on planning as well, which I think is completely transformational. I don't think anyone is teaching it the way I'm teaching it. So go check that one out. I have no idea what number it is, but hopefully maybe my team can put the link to that podcast in my bio, so you can go check that one out right after this. But the power of planning and installing these small micro habits, living your life, living your days the way you want to live your life is huge. Again, I wish I could speak from more experience here, because I have been this roller coaster, but I am becoming more even these days. And the results have really been amazing. Like I said, I just wrote a book in 3 months. Okay. The last tip, number 10, and this is going to be the one, is just start. There's nothing else you need. You don't need to listen to more podcasts. You don't need to read more books. You need to pick the course of action that you think is the best, and you need to just start. Like, you need to start like tomorrow, like tonight, like today. Like, as soon as you turn this podcast off, make a call that you need to make to start whatever it is that you want to start. Here's the reason why. There is no better education in the entire world than the education of experience. Everything that I coach comes from what I have experienced. Yes, did I read it in books and everything? Yeah, of course I did. But it's because I experienced it that I'm able to teach it to other people. If you don't experience it, you don't ever really learn it. So let me give you an example. I used to do a ton of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And you could read all of the information and watch all of the YouTube videos on how to do an armbar. And in fact, you could even be shown how to do an armbar. But it wasn't until you did that armbar over and over and over again that it finally one day it just clicked and you're like, oh, I know how to do an armbar, right? Even after reading about it, watching YouTube videos, even doing it a few times, I still couldn't execute it in an actual like rolling match until I just continued this repetition and eventually I had it. Another example is you can read all you want about, I'll use sailing. I did this because this is what I do. Learning is like a crutch. It's like a survival pattern for me. It's like I need to learn everything I can before I go out and do it. So I bought all these sailing books and I was reading about sailing. It wasn't until I actually got on the water that I actually really, truly learned how to sail. Okay. So it is through experience. I would have been way, way better off taking the time that I spent reading those books and just actually going out and getting on the water, because you learn so much more from doing. The other thing that helped me immensely, and I'm not plugging coaching here, was by having a mentor, having a sailing mentor. And I was able to learn so much from having this one sailing mentor. It taught me everything I needed to know about sailing because he had been doing it for 40 years. It's like, and I was learning right next to him and experiencing it at the same time. So I was getting the benefit of both. So this is a list of 10 things to get rich. Literally, if you implement even just one or two of them, I think you're going to find a ton of success. If you have any questions, you have any add-ons you think are critical, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear about them. If you're interested in coaching, hit me up. Just launched a group program that is going to be, well, it already has been transformational. I have a few case study groups that are going on right now, and they're just absolutely killing it, making huge leaps, and this is what's possible for you. So you can check that out on my website, contact me, whatever it may be. Don't forget, if you haven't already, just click that subscribe button, because every week I'm dropping bombs. You don't know what I'm going to release. I've been talking all spirituality, and all of a sudden I release how to get rich. And if you want to get rich, then this was the podcast for you. So thanks for taking the time to listen, and we'll see you again next week.